Secure the lower cylinder assembly in a bench vise as shown. Use a pipe wrench and remove the intake housings from the A and B cylinders. When the intake housing is free from the threads, keep the housing upright to avoid losing the retainer clip and ball check. To remove the cylinders, place a pipe wrench high on the cylinder just beneath the housing. Remove both cylinders from the base plate housing assembly. With needle nose pliers, remove the cotter pins from the piston rod extensions, then remove the extensions from the piston rods. Loosen the wet cups with a spanner wrench and remove them from the base plate housings. Firmly grasp the piston rods and pull with moderate force to remove them from the base plate housing. Place a large flat-bladed screwdriver on the lip of the male gland throat seal in the cylinder base housing and tap the screwdriver with a hammer to remove the seals. Remove the O-rings from the cylinder base housing with a pick or small-bladed screwdriver. Clean the threads and inner seal housings with a clean shop towel. Inspect the housings for dirt or cured material. Remove any cured material with a wire brush. Remove the base plate housing from the vise and place on a firm surface. Open a new seal repair kit. You will need 2 repair kits to rebuild both cylinders. Rebuild one side at a time. Starting with the male steel gland, apply waterproof grease. Insert the gland into the cylinder throat housing. The rounded side of the gland should be facing up. Continue with the white seals. Apply waterproof grease and insert the seals into the throat housing with the open end of the seal facing the bottom. The seals should fit together. If they do not, re-examine the orientation of the seals. If needed, use a small screwdriver to assist with seal insertion. Install all 3 white seals using the same procedure. Complete the installation with the female gland. The flat side of the gland will be facing up. Use a 3/8 inch socket extension and a hammer to seat the seals in the throat housing. Remove the old split sleeve bearing from the wet cup with a pick. Lubricate a new bearing from your repair kit and install the bearing in the wet cup. The bearing will have a snug fit. Screw the wet cup into the base plate assembly. Stop when the wet cup contacts the gland packings. Repeat the seal and bearing rebuild procedure for the other base housing. Flip the housing assembly over. Lubricate and install both O-rings into the cylinder housing base. Use a small screwdriver to set the O-rings in place. Return the cylinder base assembly to the vise. Remove the old bearing and seal from the piston. Cut off the washer with side cutters. Clean the piston and bearing surface with a clean shop towel. Remove any foreign debris from the area. Apply waterproof grease to the piston. Lubricate the new washer from the repair kit and slide it down the piston rod. Work the washer over the piston lip. Lubricate the new piston seal. Slide the seal over the piston rod and work the seal over the piston lip so the seal sits on the washer. Lubricate the bearing and wrap it around the bottom skirt of the piston. Applying waterproof grease to the bearing before installation will keep the bearing in position. Place the cylinder on a flat surface. Insert the bearing end of the piston into the cylinder. Compress the piston seal with your fingers and apply downward force on the piston rod. Insert the piston rod halfway into the cylinder, then stop. Insert the piston rod into the base plate cylinder housing and guide the piston rod into the throat seals. Screw the cylinder into the housing. Use caution. The cylinder has fine threads. If you encounter difficulty, back the cylinder out and try again. Using a covered push rod, place the push rod against the piston and push the piston rod through the throat seals and wet cup. Remove the ball check and retainer from the intake housing and inspect the parts for damage or foreign debris. Reinsert the ball check and retainer clip into the intake housing. Carefully guide the intake housing onto the cylinder. Screw the intake housing into the cylinder. If you encounter difficulty, back the intake housing out and try again. Use a pipe wrench to tighten the intake housing and cylinder. Install the piston rod extension and insert the cotter pin. Repeat the rebuilding process for the other cylinder. Always rebuild both cylinders when servicing. Never reuse seals or bearings, even if they appear to be good. Reinstall the lower cylinder assembly.